All right, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Elysian Brewing Company, and they're out of Seattle, Washington, and this is their Space Dust IPA. So this is essentially a double IPA that comes in at 8.2% alcohol by volume, 73 IBUs at the time of review. I don't know exactly how old this bottle is, but it does have an experience by date of January 31st of 2023. We're about 3 months away from that date, so according to Elysian, we should be more than fine. So this at this point, this is definitely a classic within the craft beer realms, but certainly here in the US. This beer's been around for what, 10 years or so. Now, they were bought out by AB InBev, I think back in like early 2015. I've had this beer numerous times before and after the buyout, and I've always enjoyed it to some degree. This was one of the first IPAs that kind of made me go wow when I tried it. Thought it was very, very good. Also, on the side of the bottle, which I should have read before I looked, it says Space Dust IPA. The hopping is pure Starglow energy with Chinook to bitter and late and dry additions of Citra and Amarillo. So, yeah, I've had this beer a lot. I've enjoyed it every single time I've had it. But it's been a long time since I've had this. It's been at least 6 years since I've had this one. I don't remember being this crystal clear though, and that's sometimes what happens when the big breweries buy your brewery. Sometimes beers don't look like they used to, but I don't remember being like hazy or anything. But this looks kind of poured out kind of like a lager. This is like clearer than but it is an old school like American double IPA, whatever. I don't know. It has that deep orange, almost copper-esque kind of color. Had about a 3/4 of a like off-white fingered head that is now dissipated to a thin film. Not a ton of carbonation, but this doesn't have the etching in the bottom. But yeah, I mean, it looks like an old school American double IPA. So the one thing that I really enjoyed about this beer when I originally had it, I think I had it for the first time in 2013, maybe 14, maybe late 2013. I noticed how like citrus forward this was, and it had like kind of a sweeter citrus tone. Like the oranges, the grapefruit's kind of a bit sweeter. Got a little like mango and peach out of it. And back then, I wasn't as used to that. Like this and like Flower Power were the first kind of two heavy C's. They're Tropicana, I believe. Or not Tropicana, it was just Loose Cannon. The Tropicana's, they're Loose Cannon. Those are like the first three beers that I kind of like cut my teeth on IPAs where I was like, oh, I can actually enjoy these. And that's what I'm getting here. I'm getting kind of sweeter citrus tones. So little underlying like a caramel malt, almost a bready kind of essence to the malt character. Touch of like a dank, like piney kind of resinous character as well. Yeah, it smells good. It smells exactly how I remember it smelling, but maybe not as impactful as I remember it. Just be honest with you. Anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Here's what I'll say about this one. Do I remember it being better? Yeah. Was it better? Probably. Is my palate in a completely different place than it was, say, 8 or 9 years ago? You bet your ass it is. So while this is, not that shocking beer to my palate where I was like, holy shit, I actually can get down with IPAs, this is still a nice IPA. It's not amazing, it's just nice. Body this one's higher side of medium body, 8.2%, a little bit thicker, lets you know that, hey, I'm a double IPA. Even though they call this Space Dust IPA, they don't label a double IPA. It's 8.2%. It's in the double IPA realm, but whatever, we'll just call it an IPA. The mouthfeel, it has that old school American, IPA kind of feel to it. It has a nice crisp kind of feeling to it. It has a nice smoothness on the finish, but like it's crisp. It has, a good spritzy kind of carbonation on it. The taste, it's orange, grapefruit, sweeter at the front of the palate. Those fruits for sure, sweeter. There's an underlying like caramel, bready kind of malt character that dives underneath everything. It's omnipresent, never steps in the way. Kind of just propping those hops up. But you drinking this, you kind of know this is an older American IPA. I get a little bit of like a mango peach stone fruit thing about halfway through the palate. On the back of the palate, this finishes with a little bit of like a pine resin, touch of a floral aspect, maybe slightly dank. It has a semi-dry finish. This is like moderately bitter, has a nice bitterness to it. It's easy to drink. and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Do I remember it being better? Like I said, yes. Was it substantially better? Not to my palate, substantially better, but it was definitely better. Thing is for a shelfy IPA, which this certainly is nowadays. I mean, a lot of you out there can get Elysian. I don't know if they're in every single state in the US, but they got to be close to it. It's just a solid 8.2% double IPA. It has an old school feel to it because it's an old school recipe, but I think it's a pretty fucking good beer. There's absolutely, to me, there's nothing wrong with this beer, right? There's nothing wrong. Was it better? Yes. Would I like this to be how I remembered it in 2013, 14? Yes. Will that ever happen? Probably not. So, you know, you sit here and reminisce about, oh, I remember back in so-and-so, there was this, this, and this. Well, I can't because, you know, we're in different times now. So, yeah, 8.2% too. That's fair. They fucking hide the alcohol extremely well. A little bit of warming in the chest, nothing on the palate. Like, the only reason I know this is a bigger beer is because of the body. It just has a thicker kind of approaching low full body at 8.2%, so that's impressive. Like I said, I'm always honest with my reviews, and I'll say this. I know there's a lot of people out there probably stopped buying this once AB InBev bought the brewery back in, what was it, 2015, right? And I'm sure there's other people that reminisce about when this was better, right? To me, right now, if I was to just grab this off the shelf, I wouldn't be angry at this at all. Like, not even a little bit. It's a fine beer. Is it as great as a lot of other IPAs out there? No. Do I expect it to be? No. So anyway, Elysian's Space Dust, I have no problems giving this one a straight 4 out of 5. That's where I'm going to land with this one, because if this didn't have this label and I was just doing it as a blind, I'd be like, yeah, this is, to me, this drink's like almost like a classic West Coast style, but with like a little bit of like a sweeter kind of citrus note, and not as bitter. But it's 4 out of 5 for this. I feel that's fair. And I feel this is pretty fresh too. I don't know if they give 6 months on these or 4 months. But if this is 3 months old, this is drinking extremely well. If this is a month old, still drinking extremely well. So they did a good job. Price point and availability, this is where the best part, right? Like earlier I said about everybody can pretty much get this, so availability. If you see Elysian stuff, you see this beer because this is the flagship. The price point, I got this in a mixed 6 at my local Wegmans grocery store, and I actually paid more for it because those are $12.99 at a 6-pack. So I paid like, you know, just over $2 for a bottle of this. I want to say 6 packs of this is like $10.49, something like that in my area for 6 packs. Like, it's 8.2%. I mean, if you wanted to get a quick buzz with some good flavor for around $10, like, this is it, especially if you like hop forward beer. So, yeah, if you've had this one before, post in the comment section. I know a lot of you out there have had this one before. So if you've had this before, post in the comment section. If you're somebody who drinks this to this day, do you think it was better back in the day? How much do you think it has fallen off, if any? Like I said, I remember it being better, but my palate was in a different place. I'd imagine pre-AB InBev, this was probably a better IPA. Like, I'm not arguing that, but I still think it still is a good IPA. So yeah, again, post in the comment section. I want to hear your feedback because I know all of you can get this. Well, like 98% of you. Anyway, appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. Till the next one, cheers.